Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of HnK Video Game Experience. With us as always is Hollywood Cole.
What is up?
And of course, as always, I'm Clearfire. So, it's been a little while since we've chatted with y'all. We've actually been a little gapped here. I'm in the process of moving houses, so I've had a tough time of setting times to be able to do recording, but we're trying to throw out something for y'all as quick as possible, so hopefully y'all will enjoy this one. And that's what's going on in my little world over here. So, what's going on in yours, Hollywood?
Oh, not much. We're trying to get a guest on today. Revelations is a PSN name, but got prior engagements, but it would have been nice to have another voice, another experience. One of our friends we grew up with, but whatever, we'll get him on here soon. But man, I've been playing, in fact, with Revelation, the new Call of Duty, and I sold my Destiny 2, so it's gone. Black Ops 3's gone, and Advanced Warfare's gone now, so all those things are gone, and so my shooter now is the new Call of Duty, and man, you know, it really is a great Call of Duty game. It's really amazing. I mean, Sledgehammer developed it, published by Activision, and you know how I feel about Activision, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. And I'm not real keen or necessarily understand what the difference is between the developer and publisher. Developer makes the game, designs the game. Publisher kind of just publishes it, just like a book. The writer writes it, so that's why it's good. Sledgehammer did all that, but it's a World War II game. Kicks back, so it's Call of Duty World War II, and the online multiplayer is fun. The story's great. The kill streaks are cool. It's still got that Call of Dutyism where you'll be waiting. It's a standard example. I know a guy's behind me. I turn around and face it's a doorway or something he has to come through. I'm pointing my gun right at the doorway. Guy runs through and kills me. And it's like, how is he able to come through that door, acquire me in the room, and then pull the trigger and kill me before I'm even able to pull the trigger on him coming through the door? Just a little bit of that half a second lag that all the Call of Duties have.
It's the all-mystical ping rate.
Yep. And so there's several theories about that. In fact, we could do a whole show about Call of Duty.
Just
theory
that part,
about, yeah, just how they do that. There's theories that it's done on purpose to let everybody get a bunch of kills every so often, so you'll keep playing the game, whatever. But either way, we know it's there. We're used to it, and I still enjoy it, man. I think they did a great job. I don't see a lot of microtransactions. They're there. You can buy them, but they are certainly hidden from the game. And see, that's a key. It really is. If you're constantly being fed this microtransaction, like Neverwinter, we play Neverwinter. That's an MMO fantasy game like WoW, but it's always in your face about the microtransactions because you got the Astral Diamonds to get Zen, and Zen is the currency that you buy with real world money in order to get things in the game, like something stupid and simple, bag space. And so you're like, I can't even get bag space, but you can play that game enough to where you don't have to ever buy anything, and it's not a crazy grind to do it. So it's very doable. But the point is, when that microtransaction is always in your face, it kind of pulls you out of the experience. And this new Call of Duty does not do that, I don't think.
Well, that's definitely good to hear that, because I know a lot of people like Call of Duty. I know a lot of my buddies at work like it and have talked it up.
This game?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah,
and I can't. I still can't get into them. We got a couple.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a Call of Duty. Yeah. I mean,
and we got
if you never like Call of Duty, you're not going to like it.
Yeah, we've got a couple clan mates from our Destiny clan that love Call of Duty just for the zombies aspect of it. So,
yeah, and I'm not a big zombie guy, but I mean, I'm just proud of them for doing this because, I mean, I really am. I thought, everybody's got Call of Duty fatigue. That trailer before with Infinite Warfare got like 8 million dislikes or something.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's just sick of Call of Duty. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I mean, I'll give it a try. It's World War II. I like World War II. But they really stepped it up, man. I mean, they kept the story good and the online gameplay is good. I think they really kind of changed it up just enough. It's almost like they struck that balance to change it up just enough to keep it fresh, but also add new things in there. I mean, we can go through all the kill streaks. I won't do all that, but it's fun. The kill streaks are not overpowering, but they do stuff. You want to get them. You look forward to getting them. So they finally kind of taken all they've learned and added it in there. It seems like they just need to get these servers worked out, which they don't even have servers.
Yeah,
that's part of the problem.
Well, the one thing that draws me to it, that makes me want to even think about playing it, is the fact that it's set World War II. I think that would be a cool aspect to play it in. So having that throwback like that, I think that actually is helping that game keep some relevancy and going there. Because, like you said, there's been a lot of burnout on Call of Duty. So
yeah, and when you get to that futuristic stuff, I mean, it just starts to get annoying. In a Call of Duty game, you're not running on walls and doing these double jump. I mean, like, this kind of stuff is not fun to do. In a game, like we said, that already has that lag behind it, and you got your guy doing 90-degree turns in midair and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's hard enough to keep up with it, in any game, much less the Call of Duty that's already a second behind. But yeah, the story, you're just a little private that starts off going to World War II, and you just kind of follows him around, and he's talking, the whole time, and it's just a standard World War II story. It's got sneaking areas. It's got just going in there and blasting. You're riding tanks, and man, I mean, just riding that tank. The last stage, I actually just played it. One of the stages, without giving anything away or spoiling anything, you're riding a tank at some point, and there's people, the Germans shooting at you, and you shoot the tank cannon and blow up the buildings, and like the buildings are falling apart. You don't have to do that, but if you shoot it again, it'll blow up some more. Everything I shot was destroyed, so it had destructible environments in that stage. And I was like, wow, it looked, like it wasn't pre-canned, or anything like that.
Well, that's cool.
It was awesome, man. I mean, they really did a good job. I think they have snipers in there, several ways you can complete a stage. I would say it's linear, don't get me wrong. But there's several reasons to go back and replay it. There's something they got now called heroic efforts or something like that, heroic deeds or something like that. So a stage might have 3 heroic deeds, so a lot of times the 2 that I've seen so far is that if you go around the corner or you just kind of wander off the beaten path and you see a German attacking one of your troops, you can kill that German, you save that guy's life. That's a heroic deed. If you hear you'll hear them in the battlefield, help, help, and then you have to go run and find them, pull them out of that area, pull them to safety. That's a heroic deed. So those are canned deeds that are you got to find them. You also got to find the mementos, which is like the intel they used to do. And so I just like to play the story through first, like on normal, and just get the story, and then I'll go back and put it on easy and do all those deeds and all that. And so I might try to platinum this one. It's going to take a lot to include zombies, and I don't play zombies. But if they take it back, and then again, one of the reasons why with this Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 3 is just so... I didn't play the Infinite Warfare one, if they even had zombies, but Black Ops 3, I mean, the zombies are so complicated. I mean, now, it's a story and all this with it. I thought we used to just go in there and like pick a stage and it's survival.
But yeah,
but it's a story. You get on a bus or something and you have to get the gas for it. It's a whole big thing.
Yeah, they've made it more elaborate than just to shoot them up.
Yeah, it kind of took me out of it. So, but this one, hopefully it goes back to normal and we can at least learn how to get at least enough to get the trophies on it. And it'd be fun to platinum because I think it's a fun game. They did good. So I am proud of the Call of Duty group for stepping up, even in all this midst of turmoil of people hating Call of Duty and actually producing a good game, showing they still got the capability to put out some good games. And it surprised me because I'm not a Call of Duty fan at that point.
Well, and the interesting thing is talking about Call of Duty actually leads us into the game that we're going to discuss tonight. It's Contra. Contra actually probably helped invent the whole shoot 'em up, shooter style type gaming. Yeah, of course, it's not the same layout as what we see with Call of Duties and things like that, but it did bring in the idea of shooting things, killing things, and that sort of thing as a person, not as like a spaceship that you saw in like the older arcade style games. And this is one of the first ones that really broke into the market and really actually helped, push the market in the late 80s. So, very interesting game, distributed all throughout the world actually. So it's one of those worldwide games that everybody got to play it in some form or fashion. Depending on where you're at is depending on what it was called. This was something interesting that I found out about it. So it actually goes by a couple different names, but. I think we should just jump on in talking about this. And, Hollywood, what's your first impressions on playing Contra back in the day?
So everybody loves Contra. And so I mentioned at the end of the podcast that the game goes for $50. It doesn't. It goes for $30 now. So it's actually gone back down. So the video game, collecting circuit is just like everything else, goes up and down or whatever, depending on the rarity and all this. And a Contra had a quick boom. Because it was one of those forgotten gems, Mm-hmm. I don't know how well it sold, but it used to be real cheap, and then it kind of got rare. Everybody remembered it. Oh, I want to get Contra. And I have a ton of memories about Contra. I mean, I don't even remember where I first discovered it, probably at my cousin's house. But it's certainly a very difficult game. One hit, you're dead. Mm-hmm. You have 3 lives, so you get hit 3 times, you're dead. And so everybody knows. Well, I won't get into the code just yet, but
yeah.
So this is in the 80s. It came out in '88. It was an arcade game. So the NES port that we're talking about is a port of the arcade game that came out the year before, and you can actually play it on Xbox Live now as well. But so it's just a arcade classic. So it's an arcade game. Everybody knows you're there to make money, so let's make it as hard as we can, but fun. Mm-hmm. And the kids will keep pumping in quarters every time they die. So NES, you had about 2 or 3. I think you had 3 continues and 3 lives. You're dead, and so you had to be good at it.
That's an interesting fact there too, because even on the coin operated one, you only had 3 continues. You could only put coins in there 3 more times after your 3 lives. So you actually had the same thing as well on the coin operated one. I was like, when I read down on that, I was like, well, what? They basically locked it down. They made this game a very difficult game.
Yeah, and so the story behind it is, what's it? 2633 is the year, and so you're fighting the. It's a group called, what is it called?
The Red Falcon Organization.
Yeah, Red Falcon Organization off of New Zealand somewhere. And what I was saying was that they're
the island chain. The island chain was Galaga Archipelago near New Zealand. They're in a plot to conquer the world.
Yeah, so it's aliens is kind of what it's supposed to be. And like I was saying, in the 80s, so you got mid to late 80s, you got movies like Commando. You got movies like Rambo. You got movies like Alien and Predator and this kind of stuff. So you got these, real tough guys, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, and then it's the cover art is an obvious Stallone and Schwarzenegger ripoff.
I was about to say that it's kind of like, if you look at the cover, it's like they did a cover for Predator, because you see Stallone, you see Schwarzenegger there front, more front, and you've got kind of this alien look around it. So you've got this definite look that it could be like the Predator cover art, but they didn't drop Stallone off in it too, because he's got the red bandana like he has in Rambo. He looks like Rambo. It's hilarious how much these two characters on this box art look like that, and this is the box art from the mid to late 80s that looked more realistic than more like the game. So you have that look, and it's like oh wow, that looks like the cover of a movie they just threw together to try to make this cover. So,
well, the Arnold Schwarzenegger character is directly from Commando cover. I mean, it's almost the exact same.
It really is.
The Commando movie with Schwarzenegger holding that exact gun with the grenade launcher on it. Let me see. The grenade launcher on the bottom. You can see Schwartz. You can see. You can kind of make that out, but it's okay. It's not exactly. But the one on Contra, on the Commando or Predator. Maybe I'm getting two mixed up. But whatever. Schwarzenegger's on one of these movies.
He's on
covers.
both of them.
Well, yeah, but the one that's taken from is
probably more
like
Commando, I think.
With the M203 grenade launcher on the bottom of the M16. But anyway, so the two characters. I just had it up.
Private First Class Bill Rizzer and Private First Class Lance Bean of the Contra unit.
What's so funny about it, they're so big, and a Private First Class is like a brand new, right into the Army. It's just funny. Army, Marines, they all have them. Marines is the E2, Army's the E3. So if you go into the military basic training as an Eagle Scout, or at least you used to could, they would go ahead and give you E3 for finishing basic training as an Eagle Scout. So maybe they were Eagle Scouts. And they just came out of basic, but I don't know. But, somebody that's going to go fight the elite group of soldiers specializing in guerrilla warfare, brand new to the military. I don't know how they specialize in anything. I don't know why they got Private First Class, but that's just kind of funny. I noticed that when I was doing a little bit of research on it. I was like, Private First Class, that's a brand new guy. They're supposed to be this elite unit. Maybe, whatever. Maybe they were some kind of like Blackwater organization, mercenary group, and then they just had to sign up so they could make it legal.
They were the new. They were the new Captain America experiment.
Yeah, so they can go in there and take out these aliens here.
That's why they're so buff and swole.
But anyway, yeah. So one of the unique things about this game that makes it different from any other of the NES games is that it was a rare case that you could play two players at the same time. And that was not a hard thing, but it was just a unique thing. I would say it introduced a new concept, a new idea to the whole gaming system, because now I have to not only control my guy, watch out for every bullet whizzing past my head and enemies and stuff popping up and bridges exploding. I got to keep up with my my comrade there, make sure he's not falling behind, because he's falling behind, it's going to stall you out all the way to the other end of the screen. And if you're on level 3, the waterfall, and you keep climbing, that dude at the bottom is going to get dropped, because you left him. So you have to work together. And, keep in mind, this is an 88. Nintendo's been out 4 years or something. Like I said, two-player game at the same time. I mean, this is a great concept. And it's, it's a fun game. Of course, it's a really fun action game. But, some of this stuff, these couch co-ops like this didn't exist. And so now you're actually working with your buddy to try to conquer something. That's what made it so unique and fun. One of the aspects of it.
Well, so to throw the curveball to that, this is actually an interesting fact. Is in Europe the game actually wasn't called Contra; it was called Grisor, and it was not a couch co-op. It was you had to alternate between player 1 and player 2 rather than play simultaneously. So they actually in Europe made them go back to the old style of playing it. Player 1 plays until they die, and then player 2. So that's just a little interesting fact that Europe actually kept that style versus going there. So, I mean, in essence, they basically made 2 different games just for that.
Yeah. And so everything on the game is supposed to be an alien, but everybody remembers the standard enemy. Looks like a football player running at you.
Yep.
And so it looks like a guy. When you shoot them, they jump in the air and they explode. Just boop, a little... orange circle. It's nothing like body parts, and they just go away. And when your guy dies, he'll cut a backflip and land on his back dead, blinking, and then he'll drop down from the sky. And another thing, this one, when you die, you come back exactly where you died until you run out of lives and all that. That was another little bit of unique thing. Usually these games will start you at the very beginning of the stage. But anyway, so Europe did not like that. They did not like shooting football players, even though it was aliens, and they just looked like football players. And I should remember that forever. And so they turned it into robots. Were the actual main characters, robots too? I can't remember.
Not that
shooting robots.
I think they were just shooting robots. I didn't see anything about them getting changed, but did see the actual enemies getting changed. Which that's kind of interesting fact and kind of
That's Probotector.
Yeah,
that's the,
Probotector is
PAL version.
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is you got this out there, and they don't like to see the football players get shot. Well, whereas in Europe at this time, American football is not even a thing over there, and it's more just soccer football. So I think that's just kind of funny, that.
Well, I just said football because it has nothing to do with football.
Well, I know.
Like
I'm just saying, that whole little switch there. I know it has absolutely nothing to do with it. It's just kind of funny, though, in my opinion.
But Probotector, they did change the protagonist and
did they?
The enemy characters too. Yeah, I thought they just a silver. It's like a white guy. It's a robot looking guy. He's it's like a big machine running around. So this stage has I don't know how many levels. Let me see. I'll just count them out right now. You have the very first level, just running through with jumping over the bridge. Second is that pseudo 3D. So you're saying it's got 7?
7 levels.
Well, let's just talk about it. Pseudo 3D level. The third one is the waterfall. Mm-hmm. Fourth one is the snowboard. Mm-hmm. Fifth one is the other pseudo 3D. Sixth one is the one with the wooden things that pop up, have spikes on them. 7 is the heart. Mm-hmm. No.
I'm sorry. There's 8 in the NES. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
there's 8. There's 8 in the NES release. There's 7 in the arcade release. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So because I was going to say, so that other pseudo, that's 5. 7 is the 6 is like it's called I can't remember, but it has those planks that pop up with spikes on them, and then you got the electric something. That's where you fight the big guy at the end that runs around and jumps, and then the heart at the end. And that was the weirdest thing. You're fighting this heart, and it actually has a mini boss on the final stage. Mm-hmm. And none of the other ones had a mini boss in it. Well, some of them, I guess you could kind of.
You could kind of call on the first stage when you bust through the door of the base as a mini boss in a way.
Well, no, that's the end of that first stage. I mean, that's pretty straightforward because it's 1-1, then 2.
Yeah, but, that's true.
What I'm thinking about is the snow when you have those trucks pull up. There's 2 of those, but I mean the main mini boss is the little snake head is spitting the shrimp out when you got to shoot it, and then you continue on to get to the heart, and you're like, have you beat Contra? Have you beat Contra? Back in the day, you're like, no, who's the final boss? Oh, it's a heart. You're like, what? What do you mean? He has like a human heart just beating. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, okay. We didn't know any better. Just kids playing a Nintendo game. We didn't expect it. What? It's supposed to be this real big boss. We didn't understand all that. It's like, whatever, heart, that's fine. It's supposed to be the inside of the heart of some alien. Anyway, and it's kind of unique when you're flying through that, or you're running through that final stage. Those little mouths open up and shoot those little white cotton balls at you, but it's basically like a little white blood cell or something trying to attack you as an intruder into the organism's body or whatever. But anyway, so again, very difficult game, 3 lives, and so this introduced what we all know as the Konami code.
Yes.
Right? And the Konami code, everybody knows. I was going to ask Revelation if he remembered it, but certainly he does. But if this code is universal. Everybody knows up, down, left, right, BA, start. But and so start to start the game. But anyway, because some people don't consider start part of the code, but because other games you don't have to do that. But so this gave you 30 lives instead of 3, so it lets you experience the whole game. And once you got good enough at it, you could only do it with 3. I could do it with 3 very easily.
It was basically a way to the game playing at normal is actually in hard mode, and doing the code actually unlocked like easy mode for you, and basically because it didn't give you any other bonus other than having the ton of lives. So
yeah, and remember when you die, you drop straight down from where you died. So. Yes, a huge benefit, and you get to continue, and when you continue, you start with 30 lives again. Mm-hmm. So, remember, we didn't have internet and this kind of stuff back then to figure these codes out. So, the way that everybody figured it out was it was in the very first issue of Nintendo Power. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
It was that the one with Mario 2 on it.
The claymation Mario 2 on the front of it. I can always remember that cover. I see it clear as day in my mind right now.
Yep. And I remember you had that one, and I did too. I still got it. In fact, I got yours. You don't know that.
Oh.
I do got yours. It has because you drew bunny ears on Mario.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that.
I got that one, and I actually got the final. I ordered it off of eBay.
The final edition that had the same cover.
Yeah, similar cover. Just a claymation deal. But those posters in it. That poster that came with that one is probably the most valuable poster. It was a map of the Legend of Zelda.
Yep, I remember that.
And yours didn't have it, but you can buy Nintendo Power Zone. Here's a little trick for everybody out here that likes video games. You can buy Nintendo Powers online on eBay or whatever. Take the poster out and sell the poster separately, and it's probably you can make a little bit of money that way. But anyway, but when you order them, just make sure they got the poster in there. Some of the posters are dumb. If you get like a King Griffey Jr. 2 poster, you're not gonna go for anything. But if you get a Final Fantasy 6 poster, I would like it. I would like that one. Whatever. It's got a poster like that. Final Fantasy 2, whatever. I don't even know all the different posters, but just a fun game that everybody would like. That's a popular game.
So something cool that I just pulled up as, we were talking about it, how, in the European market, they call it Probotector. If you pull up the box cover art and you know anything about anime, it looks like Gundams on the front cover.
Yeah, that's what.
And I was just like, when I just saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, is this like, did they take this from the Gundams, or did Gundams kind of take it from them? I think Gundams actually were created before this. So it's just kind of interesting to see that and to see the changes of where they made it. The whole robots versus aliens instead of humans versus aliens. But I mean, if you think about it in 2633 back then, we were all going to be androids and cyborgs anyway, so it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense for this front cover to look like this.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that's just an interesting look, just seeing that cover from the European market. And then the Japanese market, they kept the same look of the 2 Rambo-style looking guys, but it's basically the one guy with a blue bandana, one guy with a red bandana. One's got a tank top on, and the other one's shirtless. And there's really not much other than that. Some Japanese writing. So,
an interesting thing about that Konami code, like we were talking about, 30 Lives code, people called it back then. The 30 Lives code? So you knew something back then, and it just spread like wildfire for that game. But anyway, the Konami code was first released with Gradius. Do you remember why it was how that came to be?
No, I don't.
So the developer, the creator, Kazuhisa Hashimoto, developed the home port in 1985 for Gradius, and that's another difficult game. It's just a space shooter, and so he wasn't very good at it, And so the way that the game works is you shoot aliens or whatever, and every once in a while they'll drop a power up. You pick up the power up. Very good concept for an NES game. You got you push the power up. B shoots. The A will let you activate that power up. Well, the first power up's like speed. Second one's missile. So, but in order to get that power up, so let me see if I can explain this. You pick up one power up. You can save it. Don't activate it. Pick up another little power up icon. Now you're on missiles, so if you save it, you're gonna and then push A, you'll save all your little power ups, and then push A, you'll get a better weapon like a laser, missiles or whatever speed. And so, or you can pause the game, put in the Konami code, and unpause it. And now you got every single power up, and that was basically kind of put in there as a debugger, so that Kazuhisa could play through his game.
Wow.
That's the only reason. And so there's speculation to whether or not whether that code was left in there intentionally, by accident. If he could have just talked to any of these developers and said, hey, put this code in here or do something. He said he picked that code because it was easy to remember. And so that's why he just picked the code. And so he just left it in there. And then, of course, it makes its way into Contra. And then the Ninja Turtles game is actually used in there. Do you remember what it does in Ninja Turtles?
No, I don't. You stumped me on that one. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, well, it's in all of the Ninja Turtles, Part 2 and 3. And Part 1 and Tournament Fighters. But it's pretty much any Konami game is going to have it in there.
I think I've had too much fun to remember that.
And even games that are not Konami have included the code. I think it's in Silent Hill, too.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's
it's in a bunch of it. But what it does on the Ninja Turtles game, Ninja Turtles 1, it would actually give you like 2 more continues if you put it at the title screen. And then Ninja Turtles 3, Ninja Turtles 2, it would there's like 3 different variations you can put in, and it'll either give you 9 lives, stage select, or you can get both. Kind of the same thing for let's see. Actually, I got it right here. It says entering the code for Part 3. The screen with the A and B buttons reversed gives access to stage select options mode. It's the only way to change the options in the game. Otherwise, the player will start on normal difficulty with 3 spare lives. So that's it. But Turtles in Time, it was there for 10 lives. So all over the place. Dance Dance Revolution, Metal Gear Solid. Let me see what it does in Silent Hill. I never played. I've seen a couple of Silent Hills. So Silent Hill 3, beat the game once, enter the code of the title screen will cause Douglas Cartland, to a supporting character, to appear in his underwear in each cutscene. So it's not a. I can't hear if Silent Hill is a Konami game or not. I think it is actually.
Huh.
Let me see if that's a Konami. It's just little thing. Yeah, it is a Konami game. So little things like that.
So here's something even cooler too: is if you like, if you're a musical person like I am, this is interesting. I didn't realize this until I just read it. Is the band Deftones actually referenced the Konami code in the title for their instrumental song UUDD LRLR AB Select Start on their 2006 album Saturday Night Wrist. So, Wreck-It Ralph actually has it in there as well too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's on. It's you could enter it. You still could enter it on the ESPN's website.
Oh wow!
It would like have a bunch of fireworks or something go off. You could probably still do it. But anyway, so it's like I said, it's a cult like classic. I mean, if you played retro games, you know the Konami code. If you grew up back then. One of the latest ones that was released was Contra 4 on the DS. At least that's when I remember, and that is a great game. They started introducing the concept to where, remember, you pick up so you first of all you had 2 slots that you could pick up a spreader. Everybody wanted the spreader. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted fire. They all want spreader. If you got spreaders, that's what you're going to run with. And the game's a lot easier. That's one of the fun things about it. It's just Konami's notorious for you get power ups that makes the game a lot easier, which they should. But all power ups are not created equal. And so anyway, they would give you 2 slots. So you collect a spreader, and then you shoot something, and then a laser falls. Well, you don't have to replace that spreader. You can put it in your secondary slots, and now you got a laser. Well, if you die with a laser, you lose it, but you still got the spreader in your 1 slot, and so on and so forth. But what was cool about it is that you get the spreader, right? And then let's do this one. Let's do this version. This is easier. So they had something called this missiles type. It just had an H. And so you shoot missiles, boom, 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 and then you collect and you shoot a thing that releases a power up, and it's another H. Well, if you grab that H, you've collected 2 H's in that slot, and now they're homing missiles. So they upgrade that way. So that's really cool. And it's a really fun game, hard game, but it's fun. You can unlock the original Contra NES on that, and I think you can unlock Super C as well on that port but that DS version. And so I knew when I bought it, I owned that game, and I bought it. I just got good reviews, and that's like one of the last DS games I bought new. And if you pause the game, if say you collect an M or whatever for machine gun, you pause the game, put the up, down, left, right, BA start in, it will upgrade that machine gun to its 2nd level deal. So like, okay, that's what it does here. But I just found out that if I was to, when you start the game, you drop, just like you do on the very first one, your guy drops down. Well, if you pause it while he drops down and use your touchpad, you know how they just love that touchpad on the DS. Get your stylus and touch up, down, the up part of the touchpad, up, and then down, the bottom of the touchpad, left, right, BA start, then you get 30 lives. So it's actually used twice there. And if you try to... on Contra 4, this is another funny thing. You put that code in, it only works once. Like I said, not the one where you touch the touchpad, but when you're playing the game and you get the power up and you want to upgrade that power up, you put the code in, you get the upgraded power up. Well, you lose it or whatever. Okay, you keep going and say, whatever, I'll just put the code in again. You put the code in again, you die. It only works one time per stage. So you put it in more than once, you die. So I can tell you're reading, because you would have really liked that.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was reading something. I got something really interesting. Yeah. I'm sorry, man.
All right, go ahead.
So, no, I was just I found the actual story from the Contra manual from the U.S. version. So I thought that was interesting, just reading it, because like all this stuff started from 1957 to push you all the way to 2633, and I thought that was like, wow, a huge span of time to have all of this developed, to have the aliens to be what they are. So I just thought that was wild. When I saw that, I was like, whoa.
Check this out too. You'll like this. Let me see here. You'll like it eventually once I can get it to work. Never mind. So yeah, I'm looking at the manual here too. Let's see. Come on.
But one of the memories I have of this game too, I want to say this while I'm sitting here thinking, was fighting some of the bosses with their flailing arms and stuff coming out of their mouth and everything, trying to beat it. And I remember how much of a difficult time I had with that, because I remember back then I just, fighting hard on those bosses were just like, I thought it was horrible and just terrible. I remember rage quitting quite a few times on this game.
So check this out. I finally got it to work. Look at, bam.
Look at you.
You see the manual?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Video games nowadays don't have manuals like this.
Yeah, they don't even have manuals to save money. And this manual has, and this is an original manual. You can see the good coffee stains on there, or something Coke stains, or something blood. I don't know.
It probably is a little bit of blood.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 10 pages max in there. How to play. Only the strong survive. That's the very first thing you see. Only the strong survive. And look at these heroes. Codename Scorpion and codename Mad Dog. That looks exactly like Sylvester Schwarzenegger. He's even got a cigar in his mouth. Oh, that's hilarious.
That is so funny.
But while we're doing that, I want to show you the Contra. Hold on a sec, I'll find it. But anyway, Predator. I think it's Predator that he's the actual.
Is it Predator that the covers more alike?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's almost exactly like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's almost exactly like. It's wild. When y'all get a chance, go check that out. You got to look at it and just compare the covers to it, because it was Predator. I mean, it's the same exact stance and everything. I mean, it's hilarious how much it's copied from one another. When was Predator done? Was it like 85?
I think it's 84.
84, 85?
Right around there.
So, yes, Contra copied Predator. And then look up Rambo just to get a laugh, because Sylvester Stallone.
Find it.
Yeah, there it is, right there. You can look at the second cover that you have in those picture sets.
This one.
Yeah, that one's probably going to be the closest, or the one right below it.
There's one that's exactly like it, where he's holding like this. He's holding it exactly.
Yeah, there it is. So yeah.
Yeah, it's there. I've seen. If you go on YouTube or something, you'll see the exact one that he's.
It's hilarious,
that
guys.
They copied it from.
It's so funny to see this, and you see that all. And what's funny is you see that kind of stuff in a lot of early Nintendo games. because they tried to make the cover look more like humanistic and everything. I mean, I think you can even find some movies that are like close to Mega Man. I think like if you look at like the Tron box covers, you kind of get, a same feel of Mega Man because it's got that same vibe as well. So you look at these replications and it's really funny seeing that in video game history where the video games decided to rip off from the movie art covers.
It's just weird how they, I guess they thought it's kind of subliminal or something. I don't know. Like, well, hey, these are the heroes of the day. I mean, I guess there was a lot of video games like that that just made made it, the tough guy on the front. Especially back in the 80s, which was a great time.
Well, what made me mad about that is I'd get the game, it didn't look anything like that. I'm like, you're supposed to look like the game, and
it did in my head when I was playing them. Both the guys, one has blue pants and one has red pants. They're the exact same guy. Yeah. That's how you could tell.
I mean, it's wild to have just those little things, and that just goes back to the nostalgia factor of playing 8-bit games and 16-bit games. You just get that, you get low quality graphics, but then again, it makes you have to have your imagination kick in with it too, and I think that's why video games were so much fun for us back then, because you had to use imagination. I remember Jaws. It was a really grainy game, but if you imagine things, you could actually start making the pictures look more like what it was in the movies versus what it did on the screen in your head. So,
yep. And so, talking about the old school games, this one was like, again, so difficult to play through. And again, I've said on this podcast before, and I did eventually finish it without dying. That's like one of my little achievements that I was happy about with the game. But hold on, sorry, I was getting.
And I will say, I beat Contra one time. I know I beat it one time, and I think I beat it, and I was like, I'm done. I did it. I'm done. And I don't think I ever went back and played it again because I think it just frustrated me so bad to get there. But I will say it was a fun ride. So
yeah, so that kind of helps my point too. So you played it and finished it one time. So it took a lot of time, to try to master this game and finish it. And this is how old school games ended. You kill the heart, you get on the helicopter, fly off the island, it's exploding. And then it got words that say, "Congratulations, you've destroyed the vile red falcon and saved the universe. Consider yourself a hero." Done. That's all you get.
Yeah.
You don't get that's all you would expect. And the same way for Jaws. Congratulations, you beat Jaws. Something like that is all it says. But I mean,
the excitement you got out of seeing that screen. Oh my gosh, I can remember us erupting over games when we beat them, when we got to those ends like that. It was like, oh my god, we did it, I mean, because one
of the things...
the Final Fantasies have those, so...
Yeah, so Final Fantasy have some pretty, long endings,
yes.
They kind of pick up sort of, but so those were different. That's Super Nintendo era, so you start getting into I didn't finish the first one or whatever. The Dragon Warrior was a fun one to end. You walk back. It makes you walk all the way. You can use a wing to go, or a spell to go back to the castle, but if you walk all the way back after killing Dragon Lord, there's no enemies. Anyway, the point is, there's little things like that. But anyway, Contra. See, this is a part that you don't even think about this, and I just now thought about it. It was a unique. You were a part of an elite group when you finished the game because, first of all, if you go somewhere, they're going to say, "Hey, finish it for me. I want to see it. I want to see the ending." Because you keep in mind, again, this is a hard thing to fathom for some people. Maybe some people listening to this podcast. No internet. There was no such thing. You couldn't get online and type in Contra and go to the ending of the game and see the ending of the game. You saw it with your own eyes. You knew what happened. And so somebody would say, "What happens when you finish it?" And then you tell them. So you see that helicopter taking off those explosions. It's something so simple, but you get to see it. And so you have done what it takes. You have overcome all odds and persevered through one of the hardest games in the world. And you have seen the ending. So that's the kind of stuff that it was, you got to remember when we were children. That's what it was like.
Well, then, too, on top of that is not only could you not go onto the web and see the ending or whatever, not being able to beat it yourself, no walkthroughs, no anything. You had to discover every single thing step by step, painstaking step by step to know and understand the game. The the code. I mean, we got lucky that Nintendo Power was out at the time that this game came out, because I've got friends and family that were playing on Atari that didn't have that kind of stuff, and they had to dig and find out. Now, granted, Atari games are a whole different case in how difficult some of those are. But, when you're playing this Contra, you literally, all you have is you, and hopefully your buddy and two, one or two buddies down the street to figure all of it out and to get through it all. And
yeah, that's true.
So I mean, you have to look at it from an aspect of, these are games back in the day when you really had to figure it out yourself. Because nowadays, if I can't figure something out, it's not call a buddy up and say, hey, how'd you do this? It's Google. And then there you go. It's right there already figured out for you. And I think in a way it's kind of ruined gaming. I mean, yeah, games are still fun, but it's just, you have too easy access of knowing how to beat the games now. Contra is a shining example of, you got to figure it out. Yeah, it's just a shooter game. It's a shoot 'em up game, but there are some there are some technical pieces to it. You got to know when to duck, when to jump, when to dodge, and all that good stuff. I mean, you got to know the 5 Ds of dodgeball in it.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Well, I mean, it's a different aspect of it. I mean, it's just different. There's two ways to look at it. I mean, nowadays you buy a game, there's one field of thought that if I spend $60 on a game, I should be able to get the whole game.
Exactly.
Back then it was, you spend $50, $60 on a game, and it was, people said they were 30. They were. I remember them being $50.
Mm-hmm.
And you might not get to play the whole game.
Exactly.
You play, and it wasn't uncommon at all. In each stage you finished, it was a new experience. So I'm on stage 4, and again, it's that whole thing. Wow, I get to see what stage 4 is like. Nobody else at school can see that. Only I do.
Yep.
And I'm starting to, and I told you on the other day that we actually was at GameStop, and just happened, I was picking up Call of Duty, and I just happened to say, do you got any SNES minis? And they say, oh yeah, actually we do. There's this very rare system, for those of you who don't know, it's $80. It's got like 20 Super Nintendo games on it or something like that. And people are buying it and flipping it because they're so... Same thing happened to the NES Mini. Mm-hmm. So they've released an NES Mini and a Super Nintendo Mini. Anyway, I got one. I got a Super NES Mini. I'm so pumped about it because I was like, I just want to play it with my son.
Oh, yeah.
And so we play Mario World together. And to see his reaction when there's like a new enemy or something that pops up or something cool that happens, it kind of makes you relive that, in a way, and it's so much fun. So you kind of remember, and he's got access to YouTube, and he's played Mario Maker, but I mean, if he really, he watches some of those videos sometimes, so he hadn't seen some of that, but anyway, the point is, when it's something new, we just played it tonight and just kind of laughing, and he gets real excited when you almost die, and it's just funny. But he's like, how are you so good at this, Daddy? And I was like, well, I've been playing it for 27 years.
Yeah, I got close to 30 years in on this stuff, boy.
But anyway, he's like, oh, that's But anyway, so you just gotta. So we learn his perseverance while playing that, not giving up. So, but it's fun. I'm so glad that we got that thing. He's like, I'm glad you bought
That's
this.
a great buy.
I was like, yeah.
I've got a plain old Super Nintendo. So I was like, do I really want to buy a Super NES Mini, or do I just want to just go with the Super Nintendo that I've got? And I think I'm just gonna go with Super Nintendo I've got, and then too, I'll probably end up building, a Raspberry Pi out for it and all that, because there's quite a different ways you can do that. So
it just shows you, though. I mean, I got at least, I didn't even count it all, but over majority of those games I own already.
Oh
yeah. But there is some power in obviously the Super NES controller, but also just a product. This is just how powerful Nintendo's name is. That brand. This is a Nintendo release product, a new Nintendo release product. There's some power behind that. It's just weird. I play Final Fantasy VI all the time. In fact, I just played it, a week ago on my NES, an original one. But I'm looking forward to playing it on the emulator, or what is an emulator, but the NES Mini, which is just emulates the games. But It's an HDMI connection.
Mm-hmm.
It looks super crisp. There's like 3 different. You can make it look like an old Nintendo game, or an old one, or you can make it pixel perfect. Or there's several different views you can do. And Nintendo's notorious for putting certain hidden things in that NES.
Oh yeah.
And Super NES. So we'll see what it is, but man, it's fun. I mean, I don't know why it's just so. The colors of it on the title screen of it. I mean, I don't know. It's just a great thing. Like I said, it's just Nintendo's name. You know, it's quality.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're always going to put a quality thing out, no matter whether the masses accept it or not. It's always going to be a quality product. I mean, you got to give them the credit for that. They put out stuff that works.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
anyway, man, I don't got any much to say about Contra.
I don't either.
You know, it's a pretty straightforward game.
I
mean, it's like in terms of simple. In these old NES games, man, you know, it's not a whole lot of.
Well,
I won't say there's not a lot of depth to them. So it's a. What is that saying? Where it's just real quick to learn, but a lifetime to master type deal.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that. They're all kind of like that.
Well, just something funny too that Addy and that I just thought of pop up in my head. This game actually has one feature of it that is in a way a quasi 3D. When you go from the side-scrolling things into the bases are actually quasi 3D because you do have to, like I said, you do have to jump and duck and go around things, and you kind of run up it. So that's just a kind of little interesting tidbit in there as well. So if you haven't played it before, you'll get that kind of feel of what 8-bit 3D is, it's kind of funny. So, but
one of the things that's on the NES Mini, Super NES Mini is on the NES Mini they have Super C. I don't know why they didn't have Contra.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like some stuff that Nintendo. I mean, it's a licensing thing, I'm sure, but on the Super NES Mini they have Contra 3, which I never played that one too. I think I rented it from Video Visions or something. You'll probably hear Video Visions a few times.
All the time. It'll be all the time. Video Visions will happen in place.
Or Rogers Video.
Rogers Reynolds. And Video
Rogers Reynolds. But it has Contra 3 on it, and I played that. That's a lot of fun too. I'm looking forward to trying to get through that one. But that has a top down. The second map is a top down, looking straight down, and you actually turn your gun with the L and R buttons, and that's they wanted to show the mode 3. Yeah. They you had to pick your starting point, then the camera's up top and it like spins in. Ooh, super cool because it's something that Super NES introduced, the Mode 7 deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I get it. It's bearable for sure. It's a fun game. But the side-scrolling is way more fun, of course.
Yeah.
So anyway, what are you thinking about next? I know we want to try to put some lists together about what we need to do.
I'm totally not sure, man. I'm down for whatever. You know me. If I don't know the game very well, I'll research it and look at it. And I've had my hands on most every game we've talked. Well, pretty much I have my hand on every game we've talked about so far. So
yeah, and I kind of wanted to do that to where I know that we've both played it.
Yeah,
and can talk about it. I don't want to just do a game that only one of us has played. That's kind of hard to do.
Well, yeah, because then it's just pretty much just podcast for just one of the two of us. So
yeah, so we'll figure it out. And what you said you want to do at Excitebike at some point.
Well, if we do,
you want to do Black Box?
Like we said with Excitebike, doing it. That's we could probably cover that in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so.
I mean, and do a coverage like we did here, talk about all kind of random stuff and everything, and have it all compact in 10 minutes. Excitebike's not a huge game, but just some fun memories from it. So
yeah, and so one of my, I was gonna say Super Punch Out or something.
Yeah,
I don't know which one we can do. I know that you've played that one because that was part of that big trade that we made back in the day. But I mean, you can notice a trend. We've all done Super NES, and this is our first NES. We did Mega Man X. So a lot of Nintendo. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you, NES, Super NES is one of my favorite systems of all time. Super NES,
and Super NES is more what we ended up playing together. Because I remember, the NES stuff. I had that before before moving to Forest. So
yeah. So anyway, I don't know. We'll figure something out, but. We'll get you some more stuff. We might even do a modern game.
Yeah, we'll get more.
We've done a lot of retro.
Yeah, we'll do modern games. We'll do retro. I mean, heck, I'm thinking we could even throw some board games in there because we've got our favorite.
I knew you were going to say that.
We got our favorite board game, dude. Because as soon as we started talking about retro, I'm all thinking about Hero Quest, man. I mean that is the best, absolute best board game ever. So we'll probably have to do one on Hero Quest because
we'll do that.
It's an awesome board game, and I think you should go out and buy it if you can find a decent copy of it. You're going to spend, for a copy that's beat up, you're going to spend about $100+ for it. So,
do they even have board games similar to that?
Warhammer 40,000 is one.
Okay.
It's not quite the same as the way that Hero Quest was set up, but it has that same kind of feel. It's basically 3D version of Dungeons and Dragons is basically what it boils down to. So they have Warhammer 40,000, or they call it 40K, and they've got a couple others as well. So yeah.
So Warhammer sounds like a war to me.
Yeah.
Is it more you're controlling armies, or are you controlling individuals?
It's armies, individuals. It depends on how you set up the match or how you set up this scenario. Wow. So it's actually pretty neat. They actually have 3D levels where it's not just that flat map. They actually have platforms and everything. So it just depends on how big you want to get in that. And you can spend hundreds of dollars on that game.
What do you mean? You keep the different pieces?
Oh yeah, so they've got additions to it, different pieces that you can buy, different characters you can buy. A lot of people like to hand paint theirs in Warhammer. You've got like the map. It's not just like a flat board like it was in Hero Quest. It's actually pieces that you can attach that make the terrain stacked or whatnot and everything like that. So you kind of get a 3-dimensional feel as well.
Do you play it? You sound like you played it.
I've played it with friends. I don't own any of the stuff to play it.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of it's a fun game too. I mean, it's basically a advanced version of Hero Quest. It basically was the next step after you go into that. You merge into that. But I mean, I'm a big player of, or used to. I don't have a group anymore, but I'm a big player of D&D, Hero Quest, that kind of stuff. We used to play that all the time. So
I remember I was so disappointed in D&D, man. Everybody kept saying D&D, and I was at Full Sail in 2003.
All on who your dungeon master is.
Well, so I didn't like D&D, man. I kind of into. I like swords and the old school fantasy stuff. And they're like, hey, we're playing D&D at my house tonight. If you want to come by, I was like, yeah, all right. Man, I was actually at my girlfriend's house at the time, and I went over there, and they're just sitting around talking. It's just all imagination.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? This is what you're doing? You're just talking about being something? But I get it, though. Don't get me wrong. I get it. And like you said, especially like playing Heroes Quest, when we said, hey, let's just do our own thing. Mm-hmm. And you were the dungeon master. And that was a lot of fun. And I love those type of games because you can, if you're working together, but like Warhammer. So by the way, I'll ask, Warhammer, is it more where you're playing against each other, or is it just one you're just trying to get through this quest?
You can set it up. You can set it up either way. I know a lot of people that do campaigns. I know a lot of people that do verses. It just really depends on what you want to do. You can pretty much. I mean, it's pretty much open ended like D&D, Hero Quest, anything else. It's open ended. You can do whatever you want, however you want. They do have canned campaigns, so that way you have that strict follow through, kind of like Hero Quest did, or you can be open like D&D is, where you can just go out and do. But D&D also has those canned campaigns as well.
So you get to we go finish a campaign. Then we say we do a weekly game or whatever, and then so the next week you come in, you still have all your gear and all that you had. So it picks up where it left off, levels. Yeah, your guy levels up, and all
you can definitely do that.
If he dies, is he dead for good?
Well, that's if you want it to. I mean, it just all depends.
Okay.
Depends.
You got to set the rules ahead of time.
Yeah, it depends on how you want to set it. I mean, I know people that set it to where, okay, yeah, if you die, you're out for this game, but you can come back next game. I know some people that like you die, you're gone. In my D&D groups, if you died, your character died, it was done. You balled up your paper, you threw it away, you started a new character.
Yeah, D&D is the purest of D&D. Not even the purest. I mean, if you're not playing D&D if your character doesn't really die.
Yeah,
that's kind of the whole. I mean, we read not to get too off left field, but the one of my favorite books is The Masters of Doom. Mm-hmm. And it's just the Carmack and Romero story at ID. Well, anyway, they played D&D at some point, and they had played it for years, their characters and all this. And then Carmack was always the dungeon master. He was real good at it. And then at one point, he killed all their characters with something. One thing, but you're dead, and like you're done playing. We played this for years. Our characters are, we've watched them grow or whatever. And nope, you're dead.
That's why
there was a reason for it.
That's why you always pray that you never either one make your dungeon master mad, or two, your dungeon master is not bipolar. Because if you're bipolar, you're going to lose your character. No doubt, you're going to lose your character. So luckily, thank God, I had a great dungeon master, and if he ever listens to this, man, I give you props for all the great stuff you did for us. Because I mean, we had characters that get just, basically we had demigods. We got to demigod level on some of our characters. So, I mean, we played it that hardcore. I mean, it was every Saturday night we would get together, start at like probably 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and play until probably 7, 8 o'clock Sunday morning, and play that long time every Saturday night. It was that way. So, and the bad thing for me is at that time I was in the age of partying. I'd come in from a party and start playing D&D with them, and we bought 3 coffee urns, and we were just pumping coffee all night long. It was so crazy, man. I've never drank that much coffee in my life.
Yeah, well.
So, but sorry about diving off topic there, but that's what happens when we get off subject. We're wondering.
That's good.
So.
I didn't know anything about Warhammer, and but I do like the Heroes Quest stuff, and I mean that stuff's fun. I like playing strategy board games. I feel like they're making a comeback, man. I don't know.
They are. There's a one. I don't know the name of it. It's one that some people that quite a few of our clanmates play, and I can't think of the name of it. It was on Kickstarter. I think that's the only way you can buy it is through Kickstarter. It's supposed to be a really awesome game, and it's kind of along those same lines as D&D Warhammer Heroes Quest kind of stuff, and it's a huge box you pay $100 for and everything. So I might look it up and try to find it and get a hold of it, because I want to start a board game group up. So,
well, any game that's like strategy, it's my favorite thing, when you have to do a strategy to defeat to the other players or whatever. So, but anyway, we'll figure something out, and just stay tuned to the Facebook and whatnot, Twitter or something, if we want to drop a new.
Yeah.
Whenever we decide that we're gonna do next.
Yeah, hit us up.
Give each other enough time to play.
Yeah, we apologize for being having a little bit of space between these podcasts here recently. Like I said earlier, I'm still in the process of moving, so if it spaces out a little bit, bear with us. We got the holidays coming up, so that we're probably gonna have some space out there. Hopefully, Hollywood's gonna be coming into town. To our hometown. I'm going to try to make a trip to our hometown, make it the same time. Maybe we can get together and actually do a podcast where we're not doing it over the internet and just, sitting there laying it down together. So,
cool.
But,
all right.
Guys, thanks for listening in. And as always, this is Clearfire, and we'll check y'all later,
Yep. Later.